Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. I've been trying to tell you over the years the dangers of the lessening of testosterone in men. It's very bad. It literally means that your life expectancy is shortened. This includes women. So there's a lot of estrogen in foods and stuff like that. Which lowers testosterone and actually increases a lot of harmful things in both men and women. Estrogen is not good for humans. Testosterone is actually good for humans. A lot of people notice or have experienced younger looks, stronger, everything is stronger, muscles are stronger, bones are stronger. They process calcium and other vitamins very differently, vastly differently. Now, that is the intake of estrogen. There's a lot of things that we consume or how we consume in plastics and stuff like that that mimics estrogen, so that when you take them in, you get this fake estrogen coming into your system, which is not good. Now, that is not casting judgments against women or anything like that. We're talking about chemistry. Now, another part of decreasing the longevity of men is the psychology and how they live. What am I talking about? It is the case that women, due to estrogen, this is all due to estrogen. Your psychology is chemistry. This is why psychiatrists go to med school, because they have to understand that a lot of stuff is just simple chemistry. Again, chemistry. So that when you have these men with estrogen in them, then the men start acting like women. And it is not a shock. It's nothing surprising. If you are a psychiatrist who has gone to med school, you will say, yep, that's estrogen at work. And this is why the men are acting the way that they do. And I'm sure a lot of women are not understanding it. A lot of women are saying, where have all the men gone? And it's actually a culture of estrogen flowing through men and creating a culture and an aura of femaleness throughout the entire society. So as men become more estrogenated, they start acting like women, which is a complete turnoff to women. It's even a turnoff to men who like men. Now, today I want to talk about tiny houses and how it is a man thing, but everybody wants to sell. They want to sell their stuff, so they target women. And the more that they target women, the more they trample upon the genres of men. So just like superhero movies, which were a nerdy male thing, and they just said, we want to make blockbuster superhero movies. Well, you have to appeal to women. And at first, no woman went to these blockbuster superhero movies. Then they made it even more feminine, and so it's little by little, everything that was manly in our society went towards women to get the women to purchase it. It wasn't enough to appeal to men, to talk to women, to get men to buy something for the women. Now they want to go directly to the woman. This is why women are in business and working and labor and all that sort of stuff, right? Right now, so I want to talk about the tiny house. Tiny house is a man thing. Tiny house is the STEM major of living. No woman wants to live in a tiny house, but now they're trying to market tiny houses to women. And tiny house and man cave sort of go together. So we have the whole man cave era come about, which is now going away because now they've marketed to women. Because, you know, they want to sell man caves. They want to sell giant sofas, but they want to sell them. So the people that you go to when you want stuff to be actually bought and purchased over and over and over and over and over, you know, like a drug fiend, they market it towards women. So they said, oh, man cave. Oh, yeah, man caves. That's the thing. Men. The problem is that men started making their own man caves because a man says, oh, well, I'm not going to pay some guy $50,000 to make a man cave. I'll just simply convert my den into a man cave. I'll simply convert my basement into a man cave. And then, of course, as it is, because females are females and they're flowing with estrogen, they have to have all of the attention. This is a female thing. It's an estrogen thing. It's a chemical thing. They have to have all the attention. This is not, I'm quoting facts here. Women want attention. They crave attention. This is why women chase the men. I know it looks like the men are chasing a woman. It's the woman chasing them. She makes herself pretty. She puts on cologne and perfume, and she wears nice clothes, and she plasters makeup on herself to attract the man. She's trying to capture. This is why the peacock, male peacock, has the big peacock feathers, right? He's attracting the female with his giant peacock tail with all the colors and all that sort of stuff, and the woman has nothing. So you can clearly see the dynamics going on there. The male peacock has a big giant tail. Female has absolutely nothing, right? It is the male attracting the female. This is the same thing, the reverse in the human world. The woman puts all the colors on her stuff, and they make all the dresses and the shoes and the boots and the handbags and the puppies, and she tries to appear as feminine as possible. Some women to a lesser extent, to attract the male. The woman is trying to attract the male. I know for some men who are in the United States who are completely female starved, the woman doesn't have to put on anything. She doesn't even have to bathe, right? Because that's a societal norm taken to extreme. The American society who completely says, oh no, men and women must be apart. This whole thing has been taken to the extreme, to the point where there are men now who are like, oh, it's a woman, oh my God, you know, right? Because your society is built on this whole puritanical sort of system where a man and women are completely to be separated. And now we're carrying that to the extreme now with a bunch of women saying, oh, man bad, man bad, man man bad, I mean, which is ridiculous, because man bad doesn't get you a population of 330 million Americans. Just saying. Okay, so tiny house is now being trying to market towards women, and it's just like I said, this is just like it's like the STEM major of living. No woman wants to live by herself without the attention of about 50 people at all times. A man can live in a tiny house. A man can even entice a woman to come over, as long as he's giving her attention, and since it's such a tiny area, she She has his undivided attention, so she's happy there. But she's not going to go buy herself a tiny house. And I would press upon these men who want to have some peace and quiet. You want to live like a monk? Here you go. With $5,000, you can make a tiny house suitable for you that has, a nice office space and a bed. Office space and a bed. There you go. Boom. You don't have to. Acquiesce to the man cave. The psychologist started talking about the man cave and said the man actually lives longer if he has his own space. And I even made a video talking about that study. He lives longer if he has his own space and make sure they had his own stuff. So if they said, even if it's a chair, so if it's Dad's lazy boy, make sure it's his, and nobody else in the house sits in that chair but Dad, right? Father sits in the chair. Well, the women, because of their estrogen, and I keep saying this so that so all the women are made mindful of it. It's chemistry. It's the chemicals floating around your body. So the estrogen says, no, everything's mine. Everything's mine. Everything's mine. Everything's mine. Everything's mine. Oh my God. Okay, calm down. They literally say that they get married and the woman takes over the entire house. Then they have the children, and the children take up the rest of the house. So the parents who aren't parents then have toys strewn about the entire house, even in places where there should not be. Have you seen the little picture of the kid who is? They say you can't eat in the living room. And you can't have your cell phone in the kitchen. So he's literally sitting on the dividing line of the carpet versus the tile. And he's got his cereal on the tile part, and he's got his cell phone on the carpet part, and he's laying on the ground eating and playing his little video game. And that's some parenting going on. The backdrop that you don't understand is that's some parenting going on of actual rules in the house where, hey, you live here, that doesn't mean you take over the entire house, right? But there's some parents who just allow their children to take over the entire house. So now the man has nothing. And then the woman comes and writes articles and saying, my husband sits in the car all the time. Your husband sits in the car all the time to get away from you and the kids so he can have some alone time. He's not depressed. He's just that he needs a man cave. Try and turn the garage into a man cave if that's the case. You go ahead and you say, okay, I'm not going to shop for, like 6 months. And we're going to convert the garage into a complete man workshop. Put up all the tools and all the hanging stuff and all the wall hanging stuff. Turn it into a complete man workshop garage. So he can hang out there with his buddies. They have already made all of these studies. Men who have a boys' night out live longer. Men who have at least once a week a man friendship card game live longer. Men who have close men friends live longer. So first they said men who are married live longer. Okay, and then they said, well, hold on. Men who are married live longer because they do adult stuff more frequently, and that makes a man live longer. They say a female who's married lives longer. Why? Because she sleeps with a man hugging her and she feels secure, so her stress levels go down, so when she sleeps, her stress levels decrease almost to nothing. Stress is, of course, the thing here, right? You could see that in me. I'm all stressed out. You can see like gray hair coming in. This is all stress. I don't have anything to relieve my stress. I'm not trying to tell you about my lifestyle or nothing like that, but I literally have nothing to relieve my stress. When I get stressed, I'm just stressed for a whole week, whole month, whole year. Women live longer who are married because they're all de-stressed by their husband. And unfortunately, a part of the woman de-stressing is that she also nags. To combat that, men have in their actual brain a part of their brain that tunes out women. Now, if you can get married and you can, as a woman, be okay with the men holding you while you sleep, your stress levels are going to go down. If you can nag at a man and not demand that he pay attention, because a man does not need to pay attention. The nagging part is you're de-stressing. You're de-stressing. Now, the man tunes out the nagging to de-stress. You see, this is also high psychology going on here that I'm talking about. This is real stuff. So, even if your boyfriend and girlfriend, even you young people, the woman wants to nag as a part of the estrogen. She has to nag. And he said, and can you believe she wore the same dress? And blah. Okay, man doesn't want to hear that because it doesn't interest him. And you should be okay with that. You, the wife, you, the girlfriend, you should be okay with that. Do not demand that he pay attention, because if you demand that he pays attention, so he clicks off the thing that tunes out the nagging, if he clicks that off, then the fireworks start happening. Then you end up with no husband. You end up with no boyfriend. Because So the man de-stresses by tuning you out. So you go ahead, you nag, and if he goes that's when you hug him and pat him and go, "Oh, thank you so much for listening to me." He hasn't heard a word you said. Just go ahead and thank him. All right. I'm playing couples therapy all while talking about tiny houses. Now, if your man wants to build a tiny house on a property and he wants to go hang out with there, and maybe he wants to bring a junior with him, okay. You need to be okay with that. A lot of magazines are now telling you, don't be okay with it. Demand that he no. You want a nice, long-lived boyfriend, husband, father, baby daddy, whatever. I'm not gonna condone baby daddy. You need to be married. If you're gonna have children, you need to be married. Point blank. End of story. And we won't have a society long enough if we don't have the whole getting married. We will not have a society. Do you hear me? We won't have America. We won't have Canada. We won't have France. We won't have Australia if you don't get married to each other. I mean, I feel like, I'm taking crazy pills here that I have to tell people this. You won't have a society if you don't get married. And I'm trying to clue you in on some difference between men and women stuff. You nag to de-stress yourself. Do not demand that the man listen to. Don't do that. Because the man has something in his brain to tune it out. It's a part of his hunting thing. The whole hunting history, it's a part of it. So the man has to be able to tune out constant noises to focus on what he needs to focus on. Now, so if he doesn't listen to you, you pat him on the back, hug him, and say, "Oh, thank you for listening to me." He hasn't heard a word you said. You be thankful that you got a real man. First of all, be thankful you got a real man. Y'all talk about real men. I'm going to tell you what a real man is. A real man will tune you out. That's a part of his makeup. That's a part of his actual brain. That's a part of his brain. Same thing. Same thing. This is why you ignore the baby crying. If you're a real parent, you and your husband ignore the baby crying, and you hold the baby, and you comfort the baby. The baby is de-stressing by crying. He has some stress built up that he thinks is real over something because he doesn't have all the brain functions yet to understand. Hey, I'm trying to talk to you people. I said my diaper's wet, and you just said, and then you have to check. Oh, your diaper's wet. Let's get you nice and comfortable. Okay, baby's de-stressing by crying. The woman's de-stressing by nagging. And that does not mean get angry and mad and throw pots and pans and dishes at him because he hasn't washed the dishes. That's not his job. I swear to you, that is not his job. Most of the part, 90% of the bills are paid by the man in the marriage. Even now, even in this independent woman's era, 90% of the bills are still paid by the man, and the money that the woman makes goes to her. So do not demand he wash the dishes when you are taking all of your money that you work for and you are going and buying shoes and not even paying for the kids when you're married. Tiny house, let it be for men. Don't demand and if somebody tries to market to you and say, oh, you need a tiny house too, ma'am. You say, okay, tell you what you selling. Okay, I'm gonna make this tiny house for my man. All right, there you go. That's how you have that's how you stay together. You make sure that he has his time alone, because men need their time alone. You can't demand all the attention, girls' night out, girlfriends, gossip, nag, and then expect the man to do everything for you. No, first of all, that's not mature. First of all, right? The whole old-fashioned wife doing stuff for the man. The people forget that she didn't cook and clean all that. She didn't do that all the time. She had her gossip time on the fence with the neighbor. She had her Tupperware meetings. She had her Avon lady parties. She had all of that stuff, right? So she had her day was filled with stuff for her. And then she cooked and cleaned for the kids and the husband, which took 10% of her day. So this whole repainting of history of the oppressed woman is malarkey to begin with. And you do that stuff because you love them. Why? Because the man is still paying 90% of the bills. Still paying 90% of the bills. So if he asks you to make a sandwich, go make a sandwich. Why? Because at the end of the day, he's the one paying all the bills. You want the Oprah channel that you have to pay for? You go ahead and pay for it then. Anyway, that's just a little bit of psychology wrapped in a tiny house video. Bye-bye.